Okay. We're going to call the Wednesday, September 14th, 2022 Board of Education meeting back to order. Everyone please silence your electronic devices and we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions and deletions to the agenda since Friday mailing.
Yes, we do. We have one business consideration, the contract for an interim business administrator. Personnel considerations, I need to correct 7.1. He is going to be in the tenure area of high school principal. 7.7, there'll be some corrections to mentoring teachers. 7.21 will be a 0.4 middle school dean. 7.22 will be a 0.4 high school dean. 7.23 will be 0.2 French teachers. 7.24 will be 0.2 math teachers. 7.25 will be the approval of a AM dispatcher.
Okay. Can I have a motion for the additions and deletions? Mr. Engel, a second. Mrs. Hoteling, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We've added the motions. I need a motion for the acceptance of the August 24th, 2022 BO meeting. Mr. Benedotti, Mr. Engel, all in favor? All right. And we need a motion for the acceptance of the minutes of the September 6th, 2022 special BOE meeting. Mr. Dale, Mrs. Milano, all in favor? All right. And we have a special presentation, Discovery Camp Summer Program. So we'll turn it over to Mr. Engel.
Thank you so much for letting us present tonight. I want to introduce Mr. Littner. Most of you know Mr. Littner. He took on the role of summer enrichment coordinator and really the Discovery Camp coordinator and did an outstanding job. So I just want to publicly thank him for the work that he did. And you'll see that there's a lot of research around enrichment as far as remediation. So if you give enrichment opportunities for students, giving them the context around content, then they tend to achieve more. And so that's what we based our Discovery Camp on. So I'll pass it over to Ms. Littner.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for having me. First, I want to say I'm very excited to be here. When I got the chance to actually be the coordinator, we were able to work this camp from nothing and turn it into some really, really positive things. I've heard nothing but great comments from the community and heard some wonderful stories as well. So we'll get started. How do you work this? RCS Discovery Camp is one of a kind and it's second to none. Some things that we did, I can do this. Hands-on learning, critical thinking, and creativity. Here's some of our hands-on learning that we did throughout the program. Some of the kids, those are vegetables from our PBC vegetable garden. We planted plants. We did all kinds of art activities. The kids learned all about beehives and bees, and we actually put our own bees back into the PBC beehive. We did lots of different math games, and we also did some engineering feats. Oops, sorry. They had cooking classes. They learned how to create their own lemonade. And we also did a lot on recycling. I have some video clips. This is Mr. Dinsey's 5-6 class making lemonade. They researched lemonade. They made their own recipe. They looked at all the different things that was involved in creating lemonade. Arrow. This is Mrs. Tute's cooking class, Dutch cooking.
So now, I need somebody to get the sugar and the measuring cups that are right there.
And here's one of our students from Mrs. Maroney's dog park class.
We made some dog treats and we got to feed them to our dogs, and I also made them at my house. It was so much fun.
Those dog treats were assisted with Mr. Englehart's daughter, Lulu, who came in as a presenter as well.
We made
Sorry. This is Mr. Fryer.
Summer school is a time where you learn something that you really didn't know, something that you're not going to talk about in normal school. And we're learning about upcycling, how to take this and turn it into something useful.
They learned all about real-world experiences. The students had a chance to go to County Waste Recycling Center. They got to go to our own Shop and Save and learn about groceries and reading ingredients and menus and prices. And they went to numerous farms. This one just happens to be Stanton Farm. We focused on exploring the community, both within Ravenna itself and on the outskirts. Students went to 5 Rivers. They went up and down Main Street many times, as well as our library. Students also, anyone enrolled in the program was also enrolled into the Ravenna Library and have their own library cards now as well. And we went to Drellum Park, of many. Here's one of our students in Miss Tute's cooking class.
The apple tart, it was really great cooking it, and it was fun. When I started this camp, I thought I was going to be scared, but now I'm okay. But now I know how to cook.
The best part about these videos is I didn't tell the kids to do anything except talk, so that's what they gave us. The next one is, oops, excuse me. These are our 7th and 8th grade students, and they were doing Shark Tank creations.
The most fun thing was that how everyone got to work together and have fun with each other and get to enjoy doing stuff with everyone.
I like that we're doing the Shark Tank things and how we get to talk with our friends and that type of stuff.
I think so. What I liked was where you got to meet new friends and have fun.
The most fun thing.
Some guest speakers that we had. Mayor Mezzuraka came in and talked to our 7th and 8th grade students about new ideas and how to pitch different ideas that they had when they were creating their Shark Tank. We had Lulu and Bridget Engelhart come in and talk all about dog treats and design, and the kids got to actually make their own dog treats and bring them home. I was a guest speaker as well. I've been to numerous national parks, and one of our classrooms was doing a thing on national parks, so I was able to share my personal experiences with the class and walk them through my photos, which was fun. And we also had Rocket, the therapy dog, but he came in after I'd already put this together. We focused a lot on games. Gameplay is a lot of learning and hands-on, and the kids had a great time with it. Some of our classes focused on disc golf. Another class focused on just board game play, our 1-2 kids, and just how to understand rules and how to play fair and just how to understand the concept of a game. So here are some pictures. This is cornhole on a rainy day. Kids did puzzles. Sorry. This is disc golf at Drellum Park. They're playing Connect 4, Jenga, checkers. Playground time is always important. And they even did some yoga. I wanted to show some samples of the work that the kids actually produced at the end of the camp. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to click through it so quickly so you can see it. Our disc golf wasn't just throwing frisbees at nets. They actually put together this great walkthrough of what disc golf is, how to play. They created their own scorecard. And then they went through Drellum Park and they found basically the holes that their favorites were. And they walked through and wrote about how to go about playing that particular hole, as well as some of the obstacles that were there. And then they were able to put it onto a image. I believe Mr. Henry is planning on hoping to use this in our middle school curriculum as well. Community brochure. Kids focus on parks all around the area. They did Coeymans Landing, they did Drellum Park, they did Mosier Park, Lawson Lake, and Henry Hudson. They did such a nice job with it that the community around are actually having some of these brochures in their businesses. Our recycling upcycled projects was a huge hit. The students went around and picked up these parks. So when they went on their field trips, the first thing they did was pick up the park and clean it up and keep it beautiful. And then they took the clean items and turned it into all these crazy creations that were in their heads. There was no guidance. It was whatever they wanted to do. And this was fun because there were so many obstacles that he came up and he had to figure out how to solve before coming up with that final marble run. And this is just a picture of their show that they had at the end. And the last one is their quick cookbook. Ms. Cte in her class focused on Dutch cooking and Coeymans. Do you want to read her write-up real quick? It says the cookbook was a culmination to our project during our Discovery Camp 2022 and celebration of Town of Coeymans' Dutch cooking heritage. In 2023, the Town of Coeymans turns 350 years old. And in creating this cookbook, we hope everyone can celebrate the wonderful foods that the Dutch people brought with them from the Netherlands. We hope you enjoy it as much as we have. And what they did was they wrote down all the recipes that they actually cooked right there in class and had a chance to eat as well. Some of our field trips. I'm going to go through this quickly so I don't take too much of your time. Our recycling class went to County Waste Recycling Center. The kids had an awesome time. They learned all about the recycling and how it goes about. Millions and millions of pounds a day. They went to the Historical Society. They went to many different parks. This one is Lawson Lake. Our Ravena Town Library. Drellum Park. The disc golf part of Drellum Park, which I guess is very, very like top 10 in the East Coast. Could be wrong, but I know it's pretty good. Town Pool, Stanton Farm, Weeman's Landing. This is M&D Ranch. Am I going too quick? Okay. Drellum Park again, they cleaned up underneath the bridge. So Stanton Farm, they learned all about dairy farm and where the milk comes from and how it gets to their refrigerator. And just another picture of, this was Stanton Farm in Fearbush. Sorry, I had about 1,000 pictures, and trying to give you guys a snapshot of what actually went on in camp was not an easy task. There's some Lawson Lake pictures. It was funny how some of the kids didn't even realize there was a pool in Ravena that they could use. Here's some staff testimonials.
It's been so long to be able to teach with real things and real children and doing activities so that we can boost their creativity and their understanding about content. We've had that opportunity this summer. It's just been a wonderful experience to be able to do small groups and to be able to key in on their creativity, and amazing things have happened.
That was Miss Isabella. She was in our 1-2 class. What they were able to accomplish in 16 days was unreal. I mean, you'll see a clip in a minute from Mrs. Grogan as well, but I had to cut the tape because she started crying because she was so excited to be able to work with the kids and be in hands-on, and it was pretty emotional for her. Here's Mrs. Brown. She was one of our remedial reading teachers, so we were able to have 30-minute daily reading sessions with some of our lower-level readers so that they could have more intense reading during the program. And we did that for an hour. We had a reading block or a win block for an hour a day, and that was mandatory.
Hello, I'm Mrs. Brown, and I'm a reading teacher at Peter B. Coeymans. I've taught summer school for quite a number of years, and it is such an important tool in supporting our students during the summer months. This summer, I've worked with small groups of students using a program called Really Great Reading. It systematically teaches phonics in a fun and engaging way. With the help of this program, I'm able to break down the reading process to reach our neediest students. I also utilized books from our level literacy intervention system that connected with what the children were focusing on in their main class, connecting those phonics skills to real reading and action. Not surprisingly, I have seen students gain a deeper understanding of the reading process, and I'm hopeful they'll take these skills with them into the upcoming school year. Hello.
Goodbye. Here's Mrs. Maroney.
Okay, well, we had a great time in camp this summer, getting out into the community, looking at all the parks that we have and where good potential parks could be for our dogs. The kids had a chance to sketch some ideas, build the models in the classroom. We have Rocket, the therapy dog, coming today. And I think the kids really got a lot out of it. We had some special visitors, made some dog treats, read some books about dogs, and did a research project. I think it was a great time.
And this is Mrs. Grogan.
Discovery Camp has been so much fun for the kids. We've been learning about farm life and insects and the life cycle, and we've been doing hands-on projects and visiting farms and learning about farm to table. We also hatched butterflies. We hatched chickens, but they didn't make it, but that's also an experience for the kids. Today we're visiting a dairy farm, and the kids are gonna learn how the whole process of milking cows and where that milk goes and how the milk in their fridge, where it started. The kids have been working on this right here. It's a farmhouse. They have put these are real terracotta shingles. The kids have been doing that. They are making t-shirts. They've been working on puzzles, and on top of it, they're learning their letters and they're reading and having fun.
And this is our last one.
So this summer was a lot of fun. We got to work together on a Shark Tank project with the kids, where they came up with some inventions based on a need, and they had a lot of fun doing it. It was great teaching them how to be entrepreneurs.
We were able to fit in a whole novel this summer, Stargirl, so we got a little reading in, which always makes me happy, and we got to get some exercise out and about in the community and meet some of the business owners and learn a little bit about the history of Coeymans.
So I ended up surveying the students at the end of camp, and I asked them a couple questions. We went from all the levels, so I had to keep it fairly simplex. But the first thing that I asked was, how did they feel when they first got there? 60% of them were excited. The other 40 were a little unsure. They didn't know if they wanted to be there. They weren't sure if they were going to like it. But at the end of the experience, 89% reported high remarks about Discovery Camp on the last day. That percentage would have been a lot higher, except for the fact that I learned after I did the math that our kindergarten students were saying sad faces, meaning that they were not happy on the last day, but it wasn't because camp was over, it was because camp was over and not because it was a sad experience for them. Things that the students liked most about Discovery Camp were the field trips, making new friends, sitting where they wanted, and that it was just a lot of fun. Things that they didn't like about Discovery Camp was reading, air conditioning was not always working, and that other students were sometimes misbehaving. And changes for next year: have more weeks, get out earlier, and have more field trips. And as far as the reading data goes, I had our reading teachers keep track of where the students were. So in grades 1 and 2, we had a total of 24 students. This is just for extra RTI on the reading aspect. They got some more in class. So of that hour, they got pulled out for 30 minutes. The attendance was about 10 to 16 days, depending upon who it was. 16 out of 16 did show growth on the CMBR, which is basically a FastBridge reading assessment on their words per minute. It wasn't huge growth, but when we look at over the course of 16 days, to be able to at least show some growth is a success. 8 students were not there to take the assessment. For our grades 3, 4, and 5 through 8, there was a total of 26 pulled for 30 minutes daily. Their attendance as well was around the 11 to 16 days. Most were on the upper end. 18 out of 22 showed growth on the same assessment, and 4 were absent for that day. So to sum it up, Discovery Camp 2022 is in the books this year. We had a great camp. We had lots of really great experiences. The kids learned all kinds of things about anything. But the best part about it was they got to choose which section that they wanted to be in. So the teachers picked what they were most excited about and passionate about. They created the course, and then the kids were then able to pick which ones they wanted to be in. So everybody was doing what they really wanted to do. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us? I just wanted to let folks know while you're thinking, this was all through American Rescue Plan funding, so we're able to fund it for this year and for next summer as well, so we've already planned it for next year. We are already talking about increasing sections. What we did is there were a lot of teachers interested because we did build it on the passions that they, and the strengths that they wanted to teach. And so there were some teachers who could only do like 2 out of the 4 weeks. So what we may do is we may do some sort of like smaller modules where students and teachers may be able to go for part of it. But we really wanted there to be sustainability. In the past, when we did Adventures in Reading program, attendance was an issue. And so we wanted to make sure that students and teachers were excited to be there. That was our biggest hurdle. And as you can see, the attendance was great, and kids loved it. So, Teddy.
Is this all done at Peter B?
We did it at Peter B for 2 reasons. That's a great question. So we did it at Peter B, number one, because it was in close proximity, walking to a lot of areas that they wanted to visit. But we did also have transportation that we wrote into the budget for field trips. So sometimes they would walk to a location, but we knew that walking back, especially in 80 degrees, might not be in the middle of the afternoon, so we would transport them back. So that was number one. Number two, geographically, Peter B is in an area that was able to receive a grant for free and reduced lunch, for actually free lunch for everyone. So we were able to have free lunch for all of our students at Peter B who participated in that program during that time.
Is it open to the entire district? Or?
It's open to the entire district. These were recommendations mostly from teachers. So we included those students first. For next year, we want to include more. And we might have to think about some sort of sign up for that, because I think it could be big.
I don't have the actual breakdown of where they were in the district, but it was pretty close to being a 50-50 split. So our K5s, roughly, give or take, were about 50-50 Peter B. and Becker students.
That's good.
Yeah, transportation went through the entire district.
Okay, good.
Go ahead, Mike.
So 2 of my girls who go to A.W. Becker went to the program this summer, and I can tell you that they weren't overly excited when we told them they were going to school over the summer before it started, but they had a great time. It was an excellent program. It was a great experience for us, so thank you.
Good. And we, as you can see, like the lemonade stand was more than just a lemonade stand. They ended up doing a business plan and all of those things. The conversation with the dog came from this idea about designing a dog park and looking at the dog park and, by Mosher Park. So all of these were real world problems and connections with the community. And I think not only did parents and students and teachers really see and enjoy this experience, but we had community partners who were really excited that we were able to participate.
And just to follow up on that really quickly, the community did talk a lot. And one of the workers at Trackside, the students were going to get ice cream after going to the library, and one of the workers, a random worker actually at Carver, happened to see the kids coming in and purchased ice cream for the entire class on his dime. He had no reason to do it, but he heard about the program and he saw the kids and he just said, hey, this is a good thing. So, again, community, and they really embraced it, and it was a great time.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we don't have any hearings and petitions, right? Wait till we get lights. I need a motion for one or all of the business considerations.
Make a motion for all 6-1 through 16.
Okay, do I have a second? Ms. Malay, do we have any discussion? I do want to call out 3 of these. We would like to thank Trackside Pizza for the donation of $500 for school supplies. We would also like to thank the A.W. Becker PTA for a donation of a shed to A.W. Becker for some storage space. And also we would like to thank School Systems Federal Credit Union for 10 backpacks to be distributed to students in need throughout the district. So really appreciate those donations. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's passed. Need a motion for one or all of the personnel considerations.
Motion for all 7-1 through 7-25.
Okay, do we have a second? Mrs. Burns, do we have any discussion?
We should probably call up some of that one.
I was gonna wait until we approved it, you know, so we don't clap ahead.
Okay.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I would like to congratulate and welcome to our school district, our new high school principal, who is here, Mr. Funk, and we look for some good things. Thank you. Congratulations. 8 is informational items only. Page 9, special reports. I think school's off and running, and we've had a lot of good things happening, and you know, sports have started, and probably before you know it, we'll start having other extracurricular activities. So, seems like everything's going well. Any other board members like to discuss anything?
I just wanted to comment, I took advantage of the live streaming of the first football game from the comfort of my living room, and it was very clear and very exciting to watch on television. My only recommendation, if we can pass along, is they nicely keep the scoreboard in the bottom corner for you so you can see it at any time, but it kind of shifted down so that you couldn't see the score, you just saw the downs. So other than that, it was pretty nice to be able to see these things live streamed from your home.
I believe anything on the field. I believe they had girls soccer maybe last night on there as well. So it is something I know we've worked on for a while, and we thank Mr. Schramm and his team for getting that set up. And it's exciting. I know during the winter sports, I think basketball season, I think now we probably do volleyball is my assumption. Being able to broadcast things live stream is exciting.
And it's nice for family members that are not local to still be able to participate.
I call it one of the good things that came out of COVID, right?
Yeah.
I will turn it over to Dr. Bailey.
And in line with that, the award ceremony for the middle school tonight was also streamed. So we have those cameras in 3 locations, in the stadium, in the new gym, the main gym, and the auditorium. So we're able to do exactly as Tina said, be able to share it much more broadly. You're right, the first week of school, off and running is a great way to describe it. And I think the most noteworthy thing, all of us have spent a lot of time in buildings this past week, is a sigh of relief and normality, that we're able to see each other and have conversations with each other and support each other in ways that we've not been able to in the last 2 years. And the kids, it's funny, you know, we as adults, I think some of what's happened is much more tragic for us because we had a lot more normal before it happened. But I do think the kids are still a little quiet. The most noteworthy thing last year and the year before was walking down the hallway of a school and hearing quiet. They're still a little quiet, but they are still in good spirits, and it's great to see them back in force. And my congratulations to Buildings and Grounds for getting our facilities ready. It is a miracle sprint to the finish every year, and you're always up against events that occur as you get into August. We have orientations, we have new teacher orientation in here, student orientations, and athletics starting in August, and they work around and they manage to figure it out. And you can see when you walk in, you can see how beautiful our buildings are. Even though the kids have been here for a week, they still look really good. And lastly, the staff. I met with all the buildings and talked to the staff on the first two superintendent's conference days. And really the focus for us is that this is a year of rebuilding. The past 2 years have been very difficult for the profession. We see people who have chosen to leave the profession because of its difficulty. Lots of professions, obviously. And I highlighted that there almost is no more important profession because we create all the other professions. Students who succeed here and go out into the world and do something with what they learn are because of the work that we do. And we really haven't been able to do it in the same way that we have the rest of our careers, together, relying on each other, talking to each other, spending time together in a room, brainstorming together. So this is a rebuilding year and a year for us to really regroup and do the best work that we can do. So and I thank all of them, my sincere thanks for the staff for continuing to do the work. Because go to a grocery store, go to a restaurant, go to a gas station, go to Walmart, there's nobody choosing to work. And this work is hard. So I am so grateful for the people that we have and all of the almost 30 new teachers that we have that have started with us in the last few months. And a few will continue to start over the next month. We had an issue at a bus stop this past Monday. In particular, a couple of parents boarded a bus without the driver's permission and took their children off the bus. And as a result of that, we've been working with our attorney and local law enforcement to talk about where school property begins and ends. And I believe that as a result of this, we're going to share out with all families a reminder of our ownership over the safety and responsibility over kids and where it begins. And in state law, it actually begins at a bus stop. The bus stop is considered to be a portion of that, but unquestionably, once a child is on the bus, they are ours until they get to school, and we go to school and we release them back to their families. So I'm going to send a clear message to families so that they understand that. And obviously, it was only their own children. There were no one was injured. There's nothing that families should be overtly worried about. But I know as it's been talked about, people are overtly worried. Someone went on a bus and took their own children off. So we have a few things to consider for ourselves, and obviously we have relationships with all of our families. We want to continue to have good quality nurturing relationships, and we want them to trust that their children are safe while they're with us. So we spoke with all the families of the children that were on that bus the same day. We've been thinking about how we want to share it out with the entire community because it's nuanced and there's a lot of, so maybe less about that specific incident and more about our expectation and what the parents should expect of us, so that we're in agreement and there's not an issue like that again. We shared a communication. Do you have any questions about that? We shared a communication with our entire community last spring about our first facility dog joining us. It's Archie. He is a lab, and black lab, and he is about 4.5 months old now. And he was in school like the last day of school. The teachers were here in June. And he actually started here doing his work as a facility dog at high school this week. And the difference, I think I've explained before, a therapy dog like Rocket is a dog that comes in sporadically and visits a school for a couple hours because it's a lot of work for the dog. It's a lot of emotion and a lot of excitement. And they come in a few days a week for a couple hours. A facility dog is a dog that this is their home. They happen to go home somewhere else at night, but the school, this high school, is their home. And the training for him is for him to behave as though this is his home and relate to people as though this is his home. So we sent out 2 emails. We sent out a general email to the entire district to let them know our facility dog program is getting off the ground this year. And then we promised that we would send a specific email to each building when a dog started, so families would know exactly what we needed from children and what the families could expect if their child for some reason has an allergy or is afraid of dogs, things like that. The high school is the first building to inherit a dog. We are close to starting the programs in some of our other buildings as well. Just as a reminder, the facility dog has a team of handlers. So in this instance, the high school, there's 5 teachers who are going through training, and they're training basically on a weekly basis to work with Archie, and they trade off his ownership over the course of a day. So he might be in a special ed classroom one period, he might be in a social studies class the next, or in a science class after that. So he has diversity of his day, he has downtime, because that's really important, because he's a dog, and the reactions of the students and the staff have been really so touching. Most everybody loves to see a dog, but to be able to work with them in a professional way. And I was just talking to a teacher today who said she had him in her science class, and there was a child who had been attacked by a dog when he was young and bitten on the face, and he was afraid of dogs. So the introduction was very, very slow to him, but she said, and Archie went over and he laid down and he slept behind that boy's seat the entire class, and by the end of the class they had a relationship. So what we hope is that it helps bridge the gap for some of the social emotional things that have happened to our children and staff over the last couple of years. And as we build the program in each of the buildings, that'll, like the seed, will grow. We do expect to continue to build the program over the next 2 years. Our target would be to have 8 dogs, 2 in each building. And when I communicated with staff, I mentioned that we would begin with district purchased dogs. They are bred specifically, they are selected specifically by our training team, the consultants we're working with, selected for this work. And then after we've fully implemented that, we might consider other people bringing their certified trained dogs. But we want to make sure that we do everything perfectly, that we have practices and procedures in place, and that we know how to operate within the facility. So, but just, it's one of those great things that, another thing about coming back to school this year that's just been fantastic.
Can we attend the board meeting and come see us, or?
He probably could.
Just saying.
I'll ask about that. And in this instance, say that again?
Do the dogs live with the handlers?
And actually, we're in an interesting position. The primary handler, because we knew that person, that teacher, was in a program that would be an excellent place to have a dog that would help comfort and calm the students, was unable to have a dog at her home because of where she's in the city. And another teacher stepped up and agreed to be the person who would adopt the dog in their home. And he brings the dog to school every day and hands the dog out. He's training as well, but just such a great group of people that,
So
have done.
the
They
handlers
do.
bring the dogs home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. They live with the dog all summer, and that team has been training together. So it's really very nice. Anything else?
When do we anticipate the next dogs starting?
So interestingly, it has a lot to do with nature taking its course.
Yeah.
And right now, last week of August, our consultants called and said, "We have a litter of dogs. Are you ready?" It was the last 2 weeks of August, and I'm like, "Everybody's on vacation. No, we're not ready." And there was too much logistical issues, but we're working with 3 different breeders, and they do have a plan for when the next litters would be. They're expecting another potential litter in late October, so we may have, if the dogs are good for the work, we might have 1 or 2 dogs come from that. So that would be 2 more. We're on our way. We do have our eyes set on Labradoodles because of their hypoallergenic quality. The reason why we chose Archie at the high school was because he's a lab, and there are fewer allergy issues at this age level. Plus, we know that students can self-regulate at this age level, and there's a lot of movement, and they can be near or not near. The elementary school, you're in one place all day. So we are focused on Labradoodles in the elementary schools and possibly the middle school. I just wanted to reflect on the presentation that Tony and Fred did. I think they underplayed, and Tony started by saying, "We created it." They started with zero, with absolutely nothing. And in a very short time, at the very end of the year, knowing that we had the funds, they built this thing. And you've heard the testimonials, but I've got to say the most meaningful thing is one of those teachers saying to me, this is what learning should be like every day. Every day the kids should clamor to come in and to do this work. And we're talking about employment, enlistment, and enrollment. If they had this level of, if there were, I wrote down, disc golf, Connect Four, and Jenga in every class, no question that kids would be clamoring to come to school and do this work. It's about application of the knowledge. If we don't give that gift to our children, then we've not done them a service. So I am so proud of the work that they did this summer and seeing the program in action. Unbelievable. If we can double the size of it next year, I think that would be fantastic. At our next meeting, we have our high school awards, and we're also planning on presenting to you our targets and action plans for our buildings, give you a sketch of what we're thinking of. Tony talked about that growth for the kids who are in the program over the summertime. If we aren't focused on our student academic growth and other outcome targets, it's easy to lose sight of all the rest of the things that we're doing, building budgets, hiring staff, adopting policy. So we'll begin that discussion at our next meeting. Thank you.
High school awards next meeting, we going to do something similar to like
Exactly.
a good time? Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thanks.
We'll turn it over to Mr. Engelhardt.
So it is a busy time of year. I wanted to just remind the public that we have open houses starting tomorrow at A.W. Becker. They have a staggered schedule, so I'm going to look at Miss Newbar, but 6 p.m. is grades 1 and 2, and then 6:45 is grades 3 through 5. For A.W. Becker, Peter B. is going to be Wednesday and Thursday of next week, so the 21st and 22nd, and they divide their grades up as well. So 1st and 2nd on Wednesday, and then 3rd through 5th on Thursday. Middle schools is the 20th, okay, the 20th, and there's a meet and greet with Mr. Doran and Ms. Capice beforehand at 6 o'clock. Yes. And then high school is going to be on the 29th, and I know the BLT at the high school is working on something a little different this year, so more of a meet and greet type of format as opposed to just going around to different rooms and getting the
29th.
syllabi.
And we'll be, the high school open house will likely be at 6 o'clock. I think it's 6:30 on the calendar, but we'll be sure to send out communication to families about that.
Just because it's on old business as well, I wanted to just mention Miss Jenny Wolf is our library media specialist at our elementary. She was a classroom teacher for over 15 years at A.W. Becker. She comes with a lot of really creative ideas, and she knows the curriculum, which is huge. So she's already worked with A.W. Becker. They've already had people signing up to do book exchanges. She's working with Peter B. now to get an actual established schedule so that each classroom can get in there and utilize that space to do book exchanges. She's looking at, she actually is going to put out a survey because she knows that teachers' time is precious. So whether or not classroom use or like a cart or both, if they want to utilize something like that. She's thinking about how to engage families more in the library use as well. So she's thinking creatively around that. She said she has some really good ideas, but wants to make sure that she gets the schedules down first. Any questions regarding that before I?
So it won't be considered special.
Correct.
It'll be as needed or as able?
We're going to try to get every classroom access to those
room.
books, the room. Yep.
Okay.
What we're working around is STEAM.
Yeah.
The STEAM teachers are also using that space. So that's one of the things that we're being creative around. But that's where we're going to have at least have students have access to the books, whether that is going into the space and or utilizing some sort of cart and or using that electronic checkout that we had utilized last year. Because some teachers really did utilize it, and students really appreciated that as well, families as well.
Just quickly, what does that mean? They are able to go in and see what's in curriculum, like what's available in the library, and then it's brought to them in the classroom?
They could do, so if they go into the library, they can exchange it right there, physically. Mm-hmm. If they have a cart, obviously the cart comes to maybe their classroom during ELA block, and one of their stations might be go out and exchange books at that time. The online piece was they're able to see, and this is one of the things that was brought up in public, was we want to make sure our inventory is the inventory, because they were ordering books, but then the books weren't there. So that's one of the tasks that Ms. Wolf has, is to make sure, and she's got to utilize some TA support with that, because it's a large undertaking, because it's been 2.5 years that it really hasn't been utilized as much. But to your point, the digital piece could be like what we do at the public library. I want, Lord of the Rings, so I'm going to order it, and then when I go and I pick it up and I can leave with it.
She's working with both elements.
Correct.
Because I'm sure there was a problem, we have two schools involved, some things probably work smoother or better maybe at one place than the other.
Yes.
So she'll be able to see what, that's great.
Yeah. So that, and that's a good point. So A.W. Becker really has these open times where, almost like what we used to do with Computer Lab, where teachers would sign times to go into the computer lab. Whereas at Peter B, they really, as a BLT and as a community, want to establish times. So that's what they're working on right now. Good point. Okay, I got a couple more. Sorry, Mr. Allen. So we are looking to bring back some of those kind of things that started to get some energy before COVID, especially those things like that had parents coming into buildings. So we met today around Bring Your Families to PE, if you remember those. So we're going to try to do that this year. It's the first week of October, for those of you who like to put things in the calendar. And we're going to try to coordinate that with the national Bring Your Family to PE event as well. So more to come with that, but we're looking to do some of that fun stuff. I didn't know if Mr. Revley wanted to talk about it all, but the Cte Pathway, we had a meeting on Monday. We have to, as part of the process for any sort of CTE, career technical education, have an external review. So we have folks who are in building sciences, Mr. Revley being one of them, another business owner, sit in with the various stakeholders to look at the pathway. So that was a check the box, but also some really good feedback, I thought, from the committee. One of the things was a student profile and what that looks like for someone who goes through this pathway, and I think that really had some great conversation. I don't know if after this they're going to send it off to New York State, and so we hope that they say it's okay.
It definitely looks something that's going to help us out as a district. I mean, I know we've kind of roped Ray into getting involved because they run the same program already at Averill Park. So we, got Mrs. Martin in touch with, Bray as far as trying to see how they're doing things. And I mean, I think they're doing a really good job, and it's something that I think will, help us in the future when we get it up and running.
I wanted to publicly also thank PTAs and PTOs. They sponsor some snacks for opening days for some of our faculty, so thank you to them. There was some wonderful food items to celebrate our teachers. I do want to mention, Dr. Bailey, mentioned Discovery Camp and the energy around that. Again, our American Rescue Plan funds are for next year, but after that, I'm just thinking ahead. We just wanted to already start thinking about kind of that budget piece. If it's something we believe in and value, then we'll have to think about the budget around that. And then with budget, I just want to publicly thank Joanne Moran for her time in our district and helping me grow professionally.
Well, that's a good compliment. You're
There you
welcome,
go.
Fred.
And I will not make you cry before you have to speak.
No, I'm not going to.
We will turn it over to Mrs. Moran.
Great. A couple of things. I know I wasn't at the last board meeting, and I know there was a discussion about the bus cameras. I wanted to know if there was any other questions that we can answer. It is the district would like to move forward with 24/7. It's approximately between $13,000 and $16,000 to outfit the rest of our buses. We did pass a standardization resolution in the 21-22 school year, for those of you that may remember, because 24/7 is a specialty company. They manufacture and do everything themselves, so it's not like they go out and buy a Canon product or everything else. So we would like to do that PO. I just wondered if I could answer any questions that anybody might have. Yes, sir. How may
I can answer some questions, actually.
Sure, go right ahead.
After our last board meeting, I did ask the Albany County Sheriff the process.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Right,
Go ahead.
the process, what happens. So what the sheriff's described to me is that if they have seen that crime committed on video, they have witnessed it, and they are able to issue a ticket. They don't have to trick someone into admitting it. They don't have to play a game. They can go right to someone's home and issue them a ticket. And the other thing is, in talking to our SROs, I asked them about the time that they dedicate to doing it, and they said when they issue tickets, they wait until the end of school, and then both of them go over to the, whatever the location is in the district, and issue tickets outside of the school day. So I know those are two things that we have different information about, but I wanted to talk specifically to them because we worked very hard to try and get some answers from the county, and since they were trying to develop the work that they were doing, they were projecting and trying to guess a little bit. But at least we know from our vantage point, if we had the 24/7, that we would have viable action. It is an issuable ticket, and that our officers are not leaving school to do that.
I have a question. If they ever run into an issue where the person claims they weren't the one driving the car, like if it's registered to myself and my husband was driving,
I'm
does
sure
it
that
create an
happens
issue?
all the time
Okay.
to officers. I don't remember what happens in the law as far as your vehicle, your responsibility around it. Did anyone
because
know?
I witnessed a car go around it and I got the license plate and gave it to the bus driver
Sure.
and they were able to follow up and issue a ticket.
Yeah.
I hoped it went to the person that actually committed the offense and not whoever's car it was.
I would
Someone
think if
else
it was
borrowing
my
it.
car, I would instantly
Throw my kid under the bus.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Well, no, not under the bus.
It's fair, yeah.
I don't really, yeah, right. Bad choice of word. Woo!
Identify the guilty party, is what you meant to say.
Hold them accountable.
And
That's
he did say that even through the course of the conversation, if they're at a home and they're having this conversation and something they witnessed, and the parent says, well, my son was driving, there's a ticket that's issued and it is subject to the traffic laws.
Yeah.
So,
Is there a period of time in which that footage is able to be drawn? Like, do we have it's only good for a week or only good for a month?
I
or is
don't
it like
remember, but we can follow up. It's quite a
I don't know,
bit.
this,
Oh, no,
this
guy
guy
is
could have told you,
phenomenal.
I mean, this
keep-
guy's pretty passionate about his
Yeah.
program, and he.
You missed a good one too.
I'm sure he could probably pull it into decades if you asked him the question, but
You know-
you have to have all day to talk to him.
But what I will say too, in countering what the county has to offer, it's an extremely valuable and viable program. And for a school district that doesn't have any of this right now, it is well worth it for them to do that. We have a wonderful relationship with our SROs. We are already happy with 24/7. And we're going to do a PO unless somebody has any other concerns, questions, or anything. It won't come back to the board as a resolution because we'll do a PO. We won't do quotes because it's a standardized company that we use for this program.
Is there a difference in the camera angles that the two can offer? Do they both have only cameras inside and outside, or both? I know that maybe everybody knows this, but I didn't know if there was a difference.
I don't know there's several different angles. I don't know them all.
Yeah, he mentioned it.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I
because
didn't know if
we're-
it was inside the bus or only
They're both.
We
outside.
already have all the
Both.
cameras
We have them
inside.
both.
We
Okay.
have those already. These are gonna be outside, and then there's different angles that they can get, pictures of the license plate, and it's front and back. So, I mean, we have this is the camera we have inside, so it's just kinda makes it so we have one company and one system to follow.
And I had to watch a bunch of bus videos this week. I can testify. What the man was saying about the camera from above, it's a spectacular camera. Just one
It's
camera
crazy.
covered the front almost half of the bus, and you could see everything in every seat.
And hear it as well.
And you can hear it.
You hear it as well.
Which I told you what I've lived through just 10 years ago, scratchy VHS tape trying to picture who is the person and you can't hear anything. It's amazing.
And the other thing that, as long as there's no other questions on that, the other thing is that we are still in the middle of the audit. We will need to have an audit and finance committee meeting. I did share with Dr. Billy, I'd be more than happy to come back. We have to do the preliminary discussions on the audit as well as the reserves plan. We'll go through that. I won't be at the meeting for that, but I would be at the audit committee to go over that with anybody. I could be at the meeting as well. It's your pleasure. And I will say thank you very much to 7 great years. It's been fun. And thank you, everybody. And Mr. Schramm.
I have a question.
Don't cry.
Yeah. Mic drop.
We saw both presentations, and I guess I'm a little confused. When we watched the 24/7 presentation last time, we heard about the county presentation. A lot of other districts between May and now have gone with that county program. Bethlehem, I believe, being one of them.
Yep.
There's a lot of them. Binghamton, there's a lot of success with that program. So I thought we as a board, after seeing them, were going to discuss the pros and cons of both, and then voice our opinions, and then vote and make a decision. It sounds like the district wants to go with this one program, which I'm not saying I'm against, but I guess I'm misunderstanding the process. I mean, because we're already paying.
We had the discussion, I
so
thought,
now
well,
we can go around the room if we would like.
I mean, we're paying $161, I think he said it was at the meeting per bus, for the plan that we have. We would pay for these additional stop arm cameras. We wouldn't pay anything more for the monitoring because we're paying for that either way. But we still have to buy the additional cameras. With the county program, they're free.
That we have to replace all of them.
Correct, they have to replace what we've had there, but that's money already spent. The county comes in and replaces that, they take it over. We don't have to worry about reviewing those tapes, we don't have to worry about anything. So what's the benefit of staying with or staying with this company?
I think we decided the benefit was that it's a ticketable offense and not just a civil citation that doesn't have any teeth to it. Like the other company, we lose all access to the video. We don't have any way to follow up. We don't know if anything's ever done, and the company that runs it is just profiting off it. This way, every offense is ticketable. Our local law enforcement can go out and write the ticket and make sure it doesn't happen again. That was my big concern. I don't care about the money. I want to make sure it's a ticketable offense. It has points attached to it. It goes on a person's record, that sort of thing.
So the county one
does not.
Doesn't have.
No, it's not DMV regulated, it's a civil service.
it just goes to an
It's a civil
outside
penalty,
company that takes
excuse me.
care of it.
Which obviously they're making money or they wouldn't be in it,
Yep.
so.
The county gets 3% back, I think is what
Yeah.
Mr. Miller had said. County gets 3% of whatever money they would get, and then this company gets all the rest of the money.
But we're still someone here at our district, or Dr. Bell, or someone, still has to take the time if there's an incident to actually to review that.
Correct.
Possibly.
Yep.
Where with the county, that video is still made available to us. as
No.
back-
No. Only if we
no.
request it.
You request it, right, but
Yeah.
why would you need it? I mean, I'm just asking a question theoretically. I mean, is there any benefit to
Well-
us being able to see that? If there was a matter of litigation, you would get it anyway.
I
guess
would,
the question is with the county program. First of all, I have two questions. So there's cameras within the bus, and there's cameras mounted on the stop arm or some other
On outside the
exterior
bus,
part of the bus.
correct,
Okay. So the county program, is that both positions, or is that just the exterior stop arm?
Just the
cameras?
exterior stop arm.
Okay. So the interior cameras would remain with 24/7.
Correct.
And if you went with the county, there'd be a separate
Correct.
system for the exterior camera. Okay. If a violation is observed, and I guess the way this happens is the bus driver personally observes the violation, makes a report, and then somebody searches for the camera footage to substantiate what the driver says occurred.
Yeah, an alarm goes off when somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. With the county program, is the only possibility of enforcement action the civil penalty?
Yes.
Or could that video footage also be provided to the sheriff's department or Queens
No.
PD or the state police
Not from what we were told.
and ask them to take the same action that they would with footage from 24/7?
No.
No, what happens if that's the case and that video footage is seen, somebody's passed it, and they will go to whatever law enforcement agency Albany County is going to use.
Okay.
And to determine, was it an offense that they can issue this civil penalty ticket for? It is never going to go back to law enforcement and a DMV penalty. It'll only be a civil penalty, that's it. Doesn't matter, the law enforcement will be involved to say, yep, that did happen, so now this third party's gonna issue a citation.
And in all honesty, like I said, they're still building the program. I think they're still a little vague. Joanne keeps using the word law enforcement. I don't know that is actually who will be doing it, because we don't know what agency.
Yeah, they don't know.
You know, I was thinking just this morning as I was driving in, actually, the 3%. Not that this is not about proceed or profit, but if anyone, I don't know, if anyone has ever had a traffic violation of some kind, that there's the fine for the violation. Someone told me about this. A fine for the violation and then a surcharge.
Yeah,
A large surcharge that both involves the municipality, maybe the county and the state. All of it goes to those entities. And in this scenario with the county program, 3% does. So that revenue that's being generated by our taxpayers in our community is going somewhere else and not coming back into the system, supporting law enforcement, supporting our agencies, going back, supplementing our tax base because that money goes into some kind of fund. Not that, I mean, the number of times that it happens a year, this is not the thing that's going to.
That was my next question.
Correct.
So we've had these systems in place on an annual basis. How many alerts, alarms are we seeing?
There's a few. I don't know the exact number.
How many buses do we have them on now?
8. I have the stop arms, right, Joanne? I think that's
Right.
what.
But
So
there's
we have about-
exterior cameras as well, too. Correct.
I would, I mean, we have a driver here, but I'm going to say no question at least once a week. And probably more frequently than that. Look at the way people drive in the area. We have devolved a little bit in the capital region. But the drivers, so to your question, why is the tape relevant? We're on Old Town Road, or at the intersection of Old Town Road and 9W. It's relevant because where the bus stop is might play a role in where that car could or couldn't see the stop arm, chose to pass or not pass, or 2 cars passed or 5 cars passed. We would know it that day that just happened, and we'd be able to immediately respond to whatever input might have occurred. We can see the scenario and the situation as to why it may have happened. We can request it from the county, and they're pre-planning of what it would look like. They don't know whether it'd be sent to us in a day or in 2 days or a week or that day, that minute. I don't really know. They were talking about it like being uploaded into the cloud right away, so maybe the turnaround is very fast.
I think for me, it goes back to the responsibility of having to get the potential offender to actually admit to it, to acknowledge they did it, as opposed to this is the evidence and we're presenting the evidence in some sort of law enforcement way that it's not, we don't need you to acknowledge it, we can prove you did it. Whereas the other system was much more of a, like you said, civil, and your acknowledgement just issues you this fine. I think that's also a lot less teeth in trying to prevent it happening again. If I know, I have no points on my license and it's $50 or $100, I don't think that has as much weight, especially within your community. If you know that it's coming back to your own local law enforcement, your own SRO, I think there's a little bit more heightened awareness that you don't want to be that person that got called out on that as a potential law enforcement call.
You have a police car in your driveway, you don't have a letter in your mailbox.
Right.
I didn't think about it that way.
I guess the good thing here was that the SROs, the deal breaker for me was if the SRO had to leave the building. Because if taxpayers are paying money for them to be here, if there's any chance that they were leaving during the day to go issue these tickets, I would say no, because that chance, anything happened and they weren't here. But if the fact that they're going to guarantee that they're going to go after hours and not leave the building, then I'm okay with that.
I don't think there's anything that says it has to be the SRO.
I don't think it has to be the
Albany
SRO.
County Sheriff's Department.
No, but that came
And
up
they
in
have
one of
more
the meetings.
deputies than
They
ever
could
do, so.
leave.
You know what?
They do leave other times too.
Yeah, I will say.
I know, but
Which probably closed the loop is he said, I put the recording right on my phone. I go up to the door and knock on the door and they say, you did this. So that would be the only reason why the SRO is nice and streamlined. They have access to all the same equipment and archiving that we do. But there is no reason why another officer couldn't do it. They would bring the evidence and they would do what they needed to do.
Is there a partnership on our Bethlehem side so that the local police can do that, or would this strictly be a Albany County collaboration?
It could be anybody, but since our SROs are Albany County Sheriffs, they would likely be the ones doing that.
Okay.
And they cover
Oh,
all the areas except
New
for in
Baltimore.
green. In green.
Green,
Right.
you're right.
But that doesn't mean that it can't be, also taken care of.
It can be a referral.
That is right.
Yep.
They can either get the state police involved or
Right.
come to
True.
the county.
Or green.
Or well, it would still be, it would be our Albany County ticket if it still happened, I guess, unless it happened in Greene County.
Well, that's a very good point. It's
Of
still
where
an
it happened
People have
and
told
where
me
the
it's still an
person
Albany
lives.
County ticket because it happened here.
It's a town ticket, but.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
It's
the
in the local
municipality.
court, but yeah.
Yes.
So the conversation with was it with Sheriff Apple directly or?
No, it was
Okay.
with deputies.
Okay. It was more than theoretical about what they could or couldn't do. It was more of what they will do.
It's what they have been doing.
They have been doing and will continue doing.
Yeah.
If the video is provided and we make a complaint about the violation.
The other thing the 24/7 guy said is, so, you know, we have some drivers who are out, they start at 5:30 in the morning, they're out, you know, until 9:30. That's a huge window of time that there was a marker they could put on the recording. I don't remember how he said they did.
Yeah, there's they could push a button and they could mark that recording, so that time frame was marked so they could look at it after.
Okay, I thought, because 4 hours of tape is annoying to look at.
It
Look
is.
at. Yeah.
So if we say go ahead and do that, how quickly could things happen? Do you have an idea?
Well, no, I don't right off the top of my head. They did say that they had all the parts there, so I could give an idea and let Dr. Bailey know. I mean, Jason will follow up. He would do the PO.
Mhm.
He would do it, and then we would get them installed as soon as possible.
What's the life expectancy on the cameras?
Good question, I don't
The
know.
life expectancy of the
Oh, he said-
equipment,
Yeah.
they, with our
Did he say that?
warranty,
Wasn't that part of the?
I think he said it, yeah, it's part, we get free replacement no matter, yeah.
Well, that was on a hard drive. He did.
Not on the cameras?
I don't know. He specifically said, you know, if the hard drive goes better down with overnight you want. I don't know if he talked about the cameras, if specifically I recall the hard drive.
I thought he said that.
I think he said everything, I don't have my notes, but I think.
And
That
I-
they had their own
Yes,
people
they
who
do.
install
They're
it, and they would be
very
here
Yep.
very quickly.
We
If
did-
something breaks during a certain period, or
Yeah, like if when it comes back in, and I guess it does, it's like an audit, if it says that something was broken.
I
they
say
just
10
go
years
and
from now,
fix
if
it.
We have a
They said we were covered for
for
life.
10 years, I'm just throwing
We
out
have a
there.
service-
We have a
I've been told
serv-
what the life expectancy is.
We have a service
We have
plan,
a
we're
service
covered.
agreement, and because we have that service agreement, I think it was anything that broke would get replaced. He comes twice a year to service our units, does it sound right? Maybe once a year?
Yeah.
He comes twice a year,
They come
once
as
a year.
often as we need them.
Services everything, and if something's wrong, they replace it, and I thought it was maybe replacement was free because
Yes,
we
I think
paid
so.
for that
The service agreement every year.
And I like their
Something like
assurance
that.
of running the error reports for us.
Yes.
Where they would be able to tell us if something wasn't working.
Immediately, correct. If something's not working on a camera, they can alert us and say it's not working, we're gonna do this.
was it Joe, what was his name?
Tom.
Tom. And to prove his point, we had an issue in the first week. We called them, and they came right out and fixed the issue
If they did.
on one bus. So to answer your question, it isn't a board resolution because the amount of money is below the threshold. The board doesn't have to act on $14,000 to $16,000. But the discussion is what informs us as to what is the next step to take. And you're right, we've had pieces of the discussion over the last 3 months, 4 months. But
It doesn't hurt to ask everybody so we know. I mean, is everybody okay with
I
it?
mean, you answered my question.
Right?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Is everybody all right?
Yeah.
thank you.
Then we will go ahead and proceed.
You all set, or do you have more?
Nope, I'm all set.
Okay, all right. Okay, is that new business? Anyone have any new business they would like to discuss? Old business? Any of these we can take off? I think we spoke about the
The
solar
libraries.
panel usage, correct? A few meetings ago. So we can take that off. We can take elementary libraries off. Career Cafe, I thought we did that already as well.
I think we
unless
did
wanna
that.
Follow up. And the Career Tech Program, I think we did that at the same time. I don't know what this rural internet access,
That was the initiative to bring more
Wi-Fi, yeah.
so we
rural
want,
areas.
so we want to keep that on here, or see if we get any kind of update or where we were getting an update, and the playground.
Is there an update on that?
And the playground committee has been meeting to talk about that. They've done some repaving at Becker in consideration of what we know the new equipment would look like. Peterby will be going through the same process. We mentioned before, irrigation is the first step in doing that work at Becker, or at Peterby, which is part of this project that we're about to undertake.
So are these things already budgeted for and they will be able to be pushed through, or are they?
Well, the other good news is because of the installation timeline we're talking about, we will be able to order, the PTA has wanted to contribute and participate. But we also have money set aside from our local funds, from like Lafarge money. We keep saying Lafarge money, but Lafarge gives us $150 a year as part of a air quality school improvement every year for 20 years, I believe. So there's more than $150,000 in that account. That is one of the places where we would bring money from, immediately available. But ordering, we all know what the ordering is like now. We will be able to order in ample time to have it installed when we're ready in the spring.
So the proposed, or the hopeful time frame for that is the spring?
By the time-
Just Becker or for both?
Well, we have to do the irrigation at Peter B first.
Okay, so that has to be addressed first. Is there a time frame for that?
Well, that one
when the project's approved, so you're probably looking at next summer for that, not this coming summer. Well, maybe, so within a year.
So given that, are you choosing monetarily how to split up that money? Is that 150 being used for both and being split, or?
Oh, no, well, first of all, it's more than 150. We don't anticipate that we're going to be spending more than that on the two playgrounds necessarily either. The two quotes from Becker, the initial quote, one was a third of the other quote for around the same type of equipment, and it was well under that, the quote that was lower from a reputable company.
But do we have to try to get creative to put these things into something with state ed so we can get reimbursed money?
Well, we're
or
not gonna be getting
that
reimbursed for that
won't get
expense,
anything?
no, that's not a reimbursable expense.
Well, I didn't know sometimes you
Nope,
put certain
nope,
things in a
absolutely.
project to
Is
get
it recess
reimbursed.
for PE? That's what I thought.
Outdoor classroom.
Right,
Outdoor
I mean, there are
classroom.
ways, we've had these discussions when we did the building projects of how
No,
you get
one of the good
reimbursed.
things is that playground equipment does not need to go through state, it does have to be, you have to, well, yes and no, because you're still subject to, the lead times and ordering them, so it's not something that needs to go through the capital project plan. We have to meet certain specifications for installation, and that would depend on Bill for that. To give you an idea, I know that we had met with Deb Newbart a couple times. We now took a look at everything. They have, the company has just come back, am I correct, Bill, with some new quotes and things about what Deb and as a result of some of the committee work might want, so they're just gonna start looking at that. And they have approximately $125,000 to put towards that. So that's what.
From the district funds?
Yep.
I do expect that Becker will get done first, simply
It will,
because the
yeah.
irrigation has to get done first at Peter B.
And Deb had, we talked, we met, she had some other concerns with some of the playground equipment that exists right now and age. So we're trying to, we really had a good conversation and things are
Because
progressing.
I think
in
one of
right
the other
direction.
things that maybe me just personally is making sure that it's more inclusive for all students, because I know that some of the complaints surrounding Becker's Playground that it's not accessible for all students, and that some groups are kind of left out of being able to access it effectively.
Yep.
So
We dedicated time to building the early childhood one at Peter B 4 years ago now, again with cooperation, different entities. I think the PTO contributed, easily accessible, ground level, and that's exactly, as the committee's been working, that's exactly what they've been considering for Becker.
Okay. Good. We have no BOE committee reports, but we will have to start getting some committees, meetings scheduled, and getting at least the dates and times on here ahead of time. I think we have a CNI committee scheduled next month, right? And whatever finance is, we'll make sure to get these on the calendar and on the website. No policy adoption for review. We have no hearings and petitions. Upcoming activities. I'm sure there's a lot of events, open houses, sporting events. We will be going back into executive session, but we will be taking no action. So I need a motion to go to executive session. Mr. Benanani, a second. Mrs. Hoteling, all in favor? Not really.